Welcome, everyone. I'm Roger Bodwin, the president of Restaurant Rockstars, and I'm pleased to be partnering with Performance Foodservice to bring you this special presentation called Starting a New Restaurant. It's a multi-part series, and we hope you tune into each installment. So let's start by telling you a little bit about who I am. Again, Roger Bodwin. I'm the president and founder of Restaurant Rockstars. I've had success in this business for over 2 decades. I actually started my very first restaurant with no restaurant experience. And then I went on to create systems for that restaurant. I worked on my business, so I decided how and if or when I worked in it at all, which was a real great exit strategy for me. I have since sold those restaurants for millions of dollars, and I've moved on to starting another restaurant just before COVID hit, in addition to running Restaurant Rockstars. I'm also a podcast host. Every week, we interview leading restaurant operators across the country, heads of software, hospitality software companies that can help you run a more profitable, successful operation, as well as marketing, finance, customer service topics. We cover it all. We have 233 episodes, and if you like podcasts, you can tune in for free. All you need to do is go to our website, restaurantrockstars.com, and at the bottom of the homepage, you can just give us your email address and you'll receive the podcast every week in your email inbox. I'm also the founder of the Restaurant Rockstars Academy, which is a turnkey series of systems to help you start a first restaurant, or if you've been in business for a while, to maximize profits and run your operation most successfully. I'm the founder of the Sales Stars staff training system, which doubled and tripled sales in my restaurants for years. It built what I call the dream team staff, lowered turnover in my restaurants, but best of all, it delivered amazing dining experiences to my customers and built incredible loyalty with repeat guests. I'm also the author of a book called Rock Your Restaurant, which is a game-changing guide to restaurant finances. So with that said, I'm also proud to say that I'm a 20-plus year Performance Foods customer. And I have to say that you're in great hands. They're really great people. I'm really pleased with the relationships I've built with many of the operating companies across the country. I've done speaking engagements for them, and I am a customer. So it's been a great relationship. Great people, great products, great service. So let's begin. So COVID, the pandemic, has created a tremendous opportunity for new restaurant operations. There are lots of spaces for lease. There's lots of real estate for sale, and it's certainly a market that is in your favor. And best of all, consumer confidence is coming back. I speak with lots of restaurant owners across the country. I'm seeing it here in my home state of Maine, and I'm hearing great reports that people are just tired of the pandemic. They're getting out and about again, and they're going back to their favorite restaurants. And, you know, it's a social place. It's a social time. Everyone wants to get back to it. So know this, it's a great time to start a restaurant. So we have choices in this business. So today we're going to talk about leasing a space or owning your own real estate. And I'm going to cover some of the pros and cons of each. So let's begin with leasing. So with leasing, less capital is required. You're not going to need as much money. Favorable terms, perhaps. You can negotiate free rent for as long as it takes for you to build out your space. Maintenance and repairs are covered by the landlord, okay? So that should be included. On the negative side, there might be unfavorable terms. You might be locked into a multi-year lease. Can you sublease if whatever happens doesn't work out? So that might be a con. Okay, you also don't own the fit-up. So when you lease a space, you're going to spend money putting in some cases, you know, your own build-to-suit specifications. You'll be building walls, perhaps. You'll be putting in lighting and plumbing and maybe new dishwashers and certain permanent fixtures that can't easily be removed. Those always stay with the property, and it goes into your lease. So when you're negotiating a lease, that's a really important thing to pay attention to. CAM charges can be expensive. What's a CAM charge? It stands for Common Area Maintenance. So if you're sharing a space with other tenants in the same building, you might be charged $1, $2, $3, and even more per square footage of your space to maintain the building. So even though you don't have to do it, you may be in fact charged your portion of the CAM. Also, You build a strong business, you could be forced out. I've seen it happen several times over my career. I'll give you one example. Here in Portland, Maine, there was a super successful Mexican restaurant that was around for years. It was so popular. The parking lot was always packed. You couldn't get near the place. They didn't take reservations. They built a thriving, booming business. But they didn't own the space. They didn't control the real estate. And one day the landlord just decides that the highest and best use of that property was a condominium building, and he forced them out, tore down the building that they occupied, and built the condominium. This restaurant has since moved to a different community, miles away from the first location. And I drive by there every once in a while, and the parking lot is rarely full, and you can just tell it's not the thriving business it once was. So just a word to the wise. Okay, you also don't have real estate to sell with your business, which could also be somewhat of a challenge. So those are some of the pros and cons of leasing a space. Now let's talk about owning the real estate. So with owning, you control your destiny in your business. You can secure your future. Your business will appreciate. The real estate most likely will appreciate, and you'll have a greater resale value if you ever decide, like I did, to sell your restaurant. Now, I started out in a lease space, and I had a really challenging landlord. First of all, the roof leaked. There was very little parking. My original space 26 years ago was on the wrong side of the railroad track, 6 miles away from where the population center was. We built a business over time, but it took a lot of challenges to get there, okay? And then 2 years later, I bought land, I built a building, I owned the real estate, I controlled our future, and then for the next almost 2 decades, we built a booming business. And we had goodwill, we had incredible customer loyalty, we had 300 plus seats in this place, and the appreciation of the real estate alone, on top of the goodwill, meant that I sold this place for really, really nice money. So that was fantastic. So those are some of the pros. The cons: more capital is required. When you're looking for financing, we're going to cover that in an upcoming segment of this installment series, you're going to need more money. So when you're looking for financing, you can't simply, buy real estate without significant capital. Now, repairs and maintenance also become your responsibility. And then there's property taxes. But overall, I do believe the pros far outweigh the cons. Again, if you're going to build a successful business, you don't want to be at the mercy of a landlord and lose your lease and then have to go find another space. And in many cases, you'll have to rebuild that business from scratch. Some of your customers may follow you, some may not. But again, I've seen it happen time and time again. So let's talk about buying an existing restaurant for sale. This happens quite frequently when, for a variety of reasons, owners retire or illness happens, or maybe their business, was not really doing so well during COVID and they just had enough. They just want out, and you see an opportunity. You have a great concept in mind, or maybe you want to take over their existing concept, okay? But in most cases, these businesses are turnkey. There's an existing customer base, existing staff, a proven concept and menu, furniture and equipment is already in place in the space. There's goodwill that comes with it and marketing firepower that has been long established by the prior owner. And perhaps an owner might even be considering financing a portion of the business for you to make it easy for you to purchase the business, meaning they will hold paper on that business. So those are some things to think about if you're buying an existing restaurant. But know this: due diligence is super, super important. We're going to cover some of that in an upcoming segment, but you want to do your homework. You want to look at everything twice, upside down and backwards, and know exactly what you're getting into if you're going to buy an existing restaurant for sale. So we have some upcoming other installments that I just briefly mentioned. We're going to talk about the logistics of starting your first restaurant. We're going to talk about how to build your dream team staff, how to create recognition and rewards programs to get maximum performance. That I would call an exit strategy. In my case, my team had my back. I empowered them to think and act like owners, and I didn't work there anymore. After a year or two of putting systems in my business, I was a customer in my restaurant, and I so enjoyed just sitting at a table, watching my staff shine, my customers smile, and have great times. And it was all about building the dream team, creating the recognition and rewards, and training. So I'm going to get into that more in detail. I'm also going to cover a series on cost controls and maximizing profits in a restaurant, as well as the importance of not running a restaurant, but creating and building a super strong brand. Once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next installment. Thank you.